and welcome to Grace Unscripted, where we share stories of the people in and around Grace Church without any script, just real, raw conversations about life changed through Jesus. I'm your host, Audrey Wallace, and today's guest is Bryce Fast. Bryce's story is absolutely mind-blowing and amazing, and another one of our collective young adults who just has a rapid-fire life transformation. The main takeaway that I have from his story is how he went from fighting fires in your home to lighting fires in your heart. And I think you're going to understand as you hear his story here today. Bryce.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in. For our listeners, Bryce and I are meeting for the first time, but we've already laughed a ton before we even started recording, so this is going to be a fun one. I can already tell.
I have that effect on people.
That's a great way to live. Laughing's my favorite. It's like Elf, right? Doesn't he say that? I love laughing. Laughing's my favorite.
Oh, I have not watched that movie in so long.
Okay, we need to back up. You've not watched Elf? Oh, in so long.
In so long.
Okay,
I have watched it, I promise.
You've never seen Elf. Okay.
It's just been a minute.
Good, we're back on then. Yeah. I can continue.
We can be friends again.
Okay, good. Well, laughing's my favorite. Sounds like it's yours too, so let's go. All right, Bryce. So typically we start at the beginning. Just curious to know, did you grow up in the Akron area? What's your origin story?
Yeah, so I grew up like middle of the Akron area, the Kenmore area. Mm-hmm. So I call it downtown Akron's ghetto little brother. So.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, live out there in the hood.
Okay. Grew up in Kenmore school system?
Yeah, so majority of my life has just been Kenmore school systems. It was until high school. You know, middle schools will go to the high school for like a day to kind of get the vibe of everything. Mm-hmm. We got off the bus to go visit the high school. A fire alarm was pulled. A cop was dragging someone out of the building, and there was a fight, and my dad went, "You're not going to go there."
Oh, wow.
So I actually got transferred to Coventry schools.
Okay.
Yeah, just for high school.
Just open enrollment, just your family got to send you over that way?
Kind of a roundabout. I lived with a friend for 2 years, so I could go there.
Wow.
So, yeah, I stayed at his house, and we used his address to get me in.
God. Okay, is this going to get us into trouble? Are we going to, somebody's going to find out?
I'm out of high school now,
so
we're good.
retracted?
Well, I did live with him. It was my residence for 2 years. So.
Wow. Family friend or your friend?
Family friend. We grew up with him my whole life.
That's mind-blowing that somebody would make that commitment. And
she was his mom is like my mom, so she was really open, just like, yeah, I've always seen him as a son, so let's host him.
Pretty cool. Okay, cool. So what did you get into as a kid?
What did I get into as a kid? Everything under the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like sports, playing outside.
I actually I was a big outside person. I hated video games growing up.
Interesting. Could you talk to my sons?
I tried to talk to my friends. They won't listen to me. So I'm on video games now, so I probably want to be the best person. No, I was outside majority of the time. We just kind of explore the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We were told to stay on my street. Mm-hmm. They said, let's just stay here near the houses and let's be safe. And we were like, okay. So let's go 3 blocks over, and we'll just hope that we get back before they start yelling for us.
You said they. Do you have siblings?
It was my brother and then 2 kids that we just lived on the street with.
Mm-hmm. Just rolled it. It sounds like a coming-of-age movie. Did you walk on the railroad tracks and explore?
We broke into a golf course before.
Okay, so that counts.
Yeah, we've done that. There was a pothole that kind of went under the fence. We were like, oh, let's just go explore a little bit. And we went under, and the security guard was not too happy when he saw us walking around.
Did you book it and get away?
Well, at first he was like, what are you doing? We were like, oh, we just lost on our way home, so we're just trying to figure out. And he was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And he turned around, he stopped, and he went, you're inside the fence. And he turned around and started running after us.
Oh, kids. That's fun. Was that, kind of your way? Were you into mischief a little bit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of it was, kids like to climb things. Mm-hmm. We were, if we can get on top of a roof, it was, our goal.
Yes.
So it was a lot of that. I had a parkour phase as a kid.
Yes, that's so fun. Oh my gosh, love it. Okay, so family life, you had a brother, and what was your home like mostly? Did you guys go to church? Was that part of your life?
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of 3. I have my half-sister and then my brother and then me. And we went to church for about the first 10 years of my life. We actually got pushed out of church.
Okay, talk more about that.
So, there was a situation because my dad was one of the youth leaders, and he ran with 2 other people. and actually the lady I lived with for 2 years,
Yeah.
she was one of the other ones. And it was a very traditional church, so what we did for like the fun games and stuff, they were kind of like, we're not the biggest fans, but we'll let it slide.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think we all went out to dinner one time, and one of the other leaders kind of made like a weird move at the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we took her side and we were like, you shouldn't do that as a man who is married. And the church, we're really good friends with him. I don't know their backstory, but all I know from a 10-year-old perspective
Yeah.
was you guys hate us now. And then because of that disconnect, we thought it was a better idea to leave because we just didn't fit with him after that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did that impact your like vision of God or how you understood him? Was that like a detriment there, or was it just like you kept believing in God and everything was great, you found another church and moved on? Or
We tried looking for other churches. There was one in Kenmore that we were pretty good friends with some of the people there, so we kind of tried to get in there. But I think for me, it turned into actually around the time when we got pushed out, I wanted to get baptized. So I was really like trying to figure it out, and I think that put a stop to everything. And from then on, it was the people of God aren't my favorite, so I'll just focus on the ones that I do like. And it was like my friends, and, people like that.
would you say that you still, I mean, as a 10-year-old, you said you wanted to get baptized, so it sounds like you understood Jesus and his love and all that kind of stuff. And did that, you said, kind of pause? Did you move away? Did you like stop believing in any way, or was there still
I think it
love
was
there?
so. I like as a kid, I never fully accepted it. Was still trying to figure everything out and getting that information and truth locked in my head. But it was wanting to figure out. And I think from then it was just kind of stopped where it was.
Okay.
So I think the belief wanted to be there, but it was I'll pull the magical lever anytime something went bad.
Okay.
And then anytime something was good, I didn't need God. I could rely on myself.
That sounds like the American way.
Yep.
Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
That's like, yeah, help me win
The
this
American
game.
dream of building your own life.
Help my Super Bowl team win. Help my work this. Help my success that. But
Help me
then-
get this girl.
Right.
God, you stink because you didn't do this for
Right.
me. Yeah.
Right. And I promise I'll,
I realized I made a lot of promises as a kid to God, and I'm really happy he didn't. It doesn't work like that.
Honestly, in the maturity of our adult lives, we can look back at that and see, okay, so you 10 years old, you're pulling the God lever maybe through the rest of your teenage years, and
Yeah.
okay, then how did that continue to progress?
I think a lot of it was just living life as a normal teenager. I got it. I think middle school, kind of nothing really happened, and then when I moved to high school, and we're gonna back up. We're gonna cut this part. I got to think about that because I missed a huge part.
Oh, hit me.
Yeah. Yeah, there was middle school. I think it was like 2 years after life was like normal for a kid. And then it was around 13, my mom left.
Okay.
So from then on, it was a really big shift. It was a really big shift from wanting that small want of like, God, you might be real, to everything in life has been pretty bad. So I'm just going to choose to not believe you. And I think a lot of it's because I had a parent who didn't want to love me, it was really hard to believe that there was a God that did.
Wow. Okay. That is a big part. That's a really big part. So you're a 13-year-old kid. I have a 13-year-old son. I'm like thinking deeply about this. Okay, a 13-year-old kid whose mom leaves. I'm sure there's a whole layer of onions that could be unpacked there as to the hows and the whys. And you're welcome to share whatever you're comfortable with. But like your words were, I was a kid who saw that a parent didn't want to stay. And so how could a God want to stay or love me and things like that? Process that a little bit with us and what that looked like for you as you 13, 14, 15. Those are hard times for a young man.
Yeah, it was difficult. I think So my sister is the only girl.
Mm-hmm. And she was the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my brother just, like, struggled with school a little bit, so he needed extra help. So for me, I felt like I had to be older than I was. So the feelings that came with it, I didn't process it as a kid. I tried my best to process as an adult. And on top of it, when we found out, so it happened through cheating.
Okay.
And I was the one that saw her texting the guy. So when it was, do I keep this secret or do I be a better person and tell my dad? And then when I went up to him and, we explained that, it felt like weight was lifted off of holding a secret and weight was put on because he's the youngest, but he already knows.
Yeah.
So we don't got to hide how everything's going on. It was just kind of like, well, he knows what's going on, so let's just continue that trend. And from then on, a lot of it was, I think just I'm mature for my age, and I was then too. So a lot of it was like, he can just know this, or where they felt like they could tell me. So I got to be an adult at an early age.
Yeah, that is a lot. I don't know another kid ever that's carried something like that, whether it's the secret or the knowing. Both of those are heavy burdens to bear, while also going through wild changes in your own life, in your own mind, heart, and soul, and body, and school, and everything else in this world. Okay, so yeah, I can see how that would take your perspective of God and rattle it a little bit, maybe take it from paused to a bit.
I think it was paused to just unwanted.
Okay. All right. So how did that progress? High school, did that endure, or was there anybody pulling toward you or away from you?
It was actually a crazy line of events because I went from being pushed out of church to mom leaving to when high school started, I had to live with someone else because my dad worked full-time, my sister worked full-time, and my brother went to a private school. So it was just kind of like that disconnect from the family and it was nothing on their part. I think it was just a mental part on mine, but the family that I was with, I got pulled from. So it was kind of like, oh, I'm getting to live my own life, and I kind of get to do whatever I want. So I think freedom took its reins on me for a while.
Okay. Talk more about that.
Yeah. So since living with a friend, his parents were great parents, but it was also they weren't mine. So there was some discipline that I think I was able to get away with just because my friend was slightly more unhinged. So I think the biggest thing for like sex and alcohol, I think that was first things I jumped into. I think the divorce hit my dad really hard, and alcohol became a reliance thing for him for a bit.
Okay.
And I think seeing that, I was also like, well, I'll give it a shot.
Even as a teenager?
Yeah, it was from start of high school, just when I was living with a friend.
Okay. How did that impact your life? Like, if you're in school, you're trying to make friends, are you putting on a polished front, but like hiding things, or was it just a blatant behavior?
It was a mix of both, I think. There is in school, alcohol is always seen as this really cool thing you can get into because all the adults do it. And I think, so in school it was really easy to just kind of be like, yeah, no, I already know what this tastes like. I've done this before. And then on the other side, it was like with family, I think there was a huge face put on of like, a lot of, the words I've heard was like the one going places or the golden child.
For you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, just because I did well in school, but I also had this, what felt like a secret life behind.
Yeah, that sounds like an internal conflict that maybe only later came out. Like maybe later the battle happened, but in the time it was like...
In the time it was the peak of life.
Fancy free, eat, drink, be merry, and all that kind of stuff. Like just earthly pleasures.
Yeah, it was just a lot of that.
Okay.
And once I was able to get a car, it was like... I was living there for 2 years, and I got moved... I was able to move back home once I had a car, but I think after that I was kind of set in stone of my old ways. So no matter what people said, it was like, no, I'm going to do what I want.
Okay. During that time, do you feel like, your family left a church. Was there anybody that tried to reach out to you and draw you back toward God?
My aunt and uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've always been, I think, super big role models for me. But
dad siblings, mom siblings?
It's my aunt, my uncle, and my one cousin.
On your mom's side or your dad's side?
My dad's side, sorry.
Okay, gotcha. And they're local here in the area, so they're
Yep.
trying to connect with you. And
Yeah, they've always. I think as a kid, it wasn't as big on the God part, but it was just like, hey, you have some people here who love you, right? I do that. Yeah, I know that's really nice, and then I go back to doing whatever I want to do.
anything else for trying to draw you back to God or into a church or invite you to a youth retreat or anything like that? Or any friends playing that part?
So I also wrestled through high school.
Okay.
And I had one friend who ran a Bible study before school started. And I did go to that. It was nice to hear some stuff. But I think that was God planting tiny seeds. I really just went for the donuts.
Hey, listen, God can use anything, including donuts.
Yes, he can. So, yeah. So I think most of my my salvation goes out to the blueberry donuts from Dunkin'.
Oh, like the cake donuts?
Oh, those ones are so good.
Best. Cherry Coke is my personal fave, but they're not as
Which
common.
ones?
Cherry cake donuts?
I've never.
They're
I
very
love cherries.
rare, I know, but they're similar to the blueberry ones.
Ooh,
just
that's-
pink. I bet they'll have them around Valentine's Day, so keep your eyes peeled.
It's going to be sad walking to the Dunkin' to get the themed Valentine's Day donuts by myself. It's worth it, though.
Hey, live it up. You love donuts, and that's all you
I
need.
love 'em.
That's love. Okay, side notes. Okay, so you're wrestling. You've got this morning Bible study that you're going for the donuts, and little seeds are planted. All right, so let's follow the seed trail. What else happened? You're graduating, like getting closer to making adult decisions.
I made, so I think it was sophomore year, beginning of then, they took us to a career center and they said, is this, you get to go try all the jobs. And a huge decision of mine, I went to fire academy. So I was training to be a firefighter for the last 2 years of high school. And I think that is what got me in the disciplined state of I kind of need to change my life so I can have something going for me. So I think that was a huge change. I started that and got, I think that just became my dream. I wanted to be the firefighter for however long.
Awesome. Okay, so that's kind of cleaned you up again, but not necessarily from a Jesus perspective, just from
Jesus'
a
perspective, he was
perspective.
the farthest thing in the back of my mind.
Okay. Then what?
Oh, wow.
Did you go and become a fireman?
I
after you
actually,
graduated?
When I started Fire Academy, I also got a girlfriend. Everybody's first actual girlfriend, you're like, this is going to be the one. We'll hop to the future. She was not, but I was Fire Academy. I was not in the most humble way possible. I was top of my class, and I say that because I had jobs set in front of me.
Wow.
are
you 18 years old? Are you graduated at this
Yeah,
point?
so
Okay.
we went through Fire Academy and we did it. It was through Stark College, so we had in building fire training. They would it was like a metal couch in a building, and there was a tube that would come out, and however big they want, they could set the whole building on fire. And we'd get sent in with a hose and all our gear, and we'd put it out as people would go in and grab the dummies and drag them out. And
Wow.
we would practice. I think what was it called? It was name is slipping. We were just breaking down the doors. We'd practice doing that. We would practice dragging dummies out. We would climb up towers and keep going. It was just a lot of physical.
You're 18 years old.
Yeah, I'm 18
and you're
years old.
doing all of that stuff.
I'm
I'm thinking about other 18-year-olds who can't even make a decision for college, and they don't have any idea what they're doing, and you're pulling dummies out of burning buildings.
Yeah, I have through all of that, I have my Fire 1 and 2 card, which is everything you need to be able to do in a building and outside of a building on a fire scene I can do. And I have my EVOC training, which is every emergency vehicle that you've seen I can drive, which was super fun.
That sounds
It was
really
a
cool.
75-foot long truck, and I was weaving it in and out of cones.
Yeah, this is every 4-year-old boy's dream come true.
This was the peak of my life. I was having a
Gosh.
great time. I also got hazmat training, so we've got to go to giant spills, and we would clean people up and clean off the bright yellow suits that you'd see. And we would get to things called jaws of life.
Yeah.
It's these gigantic scissors. We would tear apart cars with them.
Yeah, that feels like stuff from the movies.
It
that
is.
you hear
It
about.
was
but it's,
straight from
not
a
real.
movie.
Okay, cool. So you're doing all that. You've got this girlfriend. Okay. What kind of trajectory are you on at this point?
I think it was just getting to graduate. In my head, I think my trajectory was just continuing fire. I was top. It felt like I was the top of the world. I was really set on building my life for myself. And we didn't grow up with the most money, so I was like, if I just do everything I need to do now, I'm going to have the best life anyone's ever seen. I want to be that golden child and the one going places, but not because they said it, because I want to. And so I continued doing that. I got in touch with all my teachers, so I had any fire station was willing to hire me and send me to EMT school. And the girlfriend, it was going great, but she was moving to college, so we were trying to work out the long distance stuff. And wrestling was going great. I took a year off. A lot of that was to spite my dad, because I think he just really enjoyed it and got to live some of it through me. And there was a part of it that I refused to let anybody. I refused to be anything but unique. So because someone felt like they wanted to live through me, I just kind of pulled out. But I went back my senior year, and I was having the time of my life. I was doing pretty well. I was placing in tournaments, and life was great.
Okay, perfect. So
yeah, everything seemed perfect.
Again, the American dream. What else? What else could happen here? But I have a feeling there's probably a turn.
No, yeah.
Okay, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So senior year ended, and it felt like Fire Academy ended, wrestling ended. My girlfriend was away at college. So I was like, I just don't know what else there is. And all my friends who I met at the Career Center now have these big paying jobs. And I was like, I'll continue my EMT. But the crazy part was that we just didn't get to do EMT in Fire Academy like we're supposed to. So they said, we'll give you some free college credits so you can take the class. And it just did not work out. And I tried to go for the credits and just would not register for me. So I had to pay for it myself. And I was like, okay, well, just next thing I got to do is schooling again. And my wrestling coach was a firefighter. So I got to ask him, and I was like, are you running these classes? Can I get in? And he was like, yeah, no problem. So he did everything he could. He pulled strings. I got to take the test, and he was like, you are in the class no matter what. You just got to pay this much. And I think that's when my car broke down. So I was like, I cannot get there if I don't have a car. So can we push this back a little bit to the next round of classes, which a few months later. And so I was like, let me save up for a car. I'll get the car, and then I'll save up money again, and we'll pay for the classes. And then, time goes on. I'm working at a bar now with all my siblings. People just in and out, so I'm around that crowd again.
Yeah.
But life just felt really empty. And it was, just a waiting game. And we finally got to where EMT is again. And I was, I think this is when I realized I think depression really kicked in.
Okay.
I was feeling the lowest of lows. I could not get out of bed. I would go to the bar. I'd work till 2 a.m. I'd come home, sleep all day, and just repeat. And it was that. And then my friends were wanting to hang out the weekends, so I'd go over there the weekends, and I was getting back into drinking. And I was like, this is just what life is, and it feels super low. And it was, I realized how bad everything was when I went to go for EMT again, and instead of that, I kind of stopped, and I was like, I just feel like I just can't do this. I was like, I'm not making enough money to pay for this. I'm still saving up for a car because there's been so many expenses or things that have come up that I just keep having to spend money on. I'm draining it on alcohol. And then, so I was like, hey, coach, please give me a hand. Just push it back one more. A few more months. So it's like end of the year, I'll start it. I just need a little bit. And he was like, I will do this for you one last time.
One more time.
I was like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm really trying to get my stuff back together. And one night I was at the bar. Me and my ex are girlfriend at the time. Whoops, spoiler alert. But we were kind of back and forth with trying to figure things out with long distance, and we end up ending things.
Okay. Like over text message?
Yeah.
While you're at the bar?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, boy.
But we ended...
That's a recipe for
a
lot of ugly.
But we ended it, and then we kept talking, and then it was ended it. A few hours later, we were like, okay, we'll keep trying. So we're still in a relationship, and my sister finds me behind the bar, in shambles. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I have never felt like I do right now, and I need some help. She was like, I've never seen you like this. And I was like, I feel like I've been feeling like this for years. I just haven't told anyone. So she was like, okay, let's get you a counselor. Let's get you some sort of help that you need. I was like, okay, fine, whatever I can do to get this feeling away. And it takes a few weeks to get that going.
Absolutely. Those are the hardest waiting periods that you can have.
So while we're waiting, I actually, my ex, she got to come home for a week, got to hang out with her, and then she went back to college. Her sister had to go to Germany for a medical treatment. So I actually lived at her house for 2.5 weeks by myself just to watch the house and the dogs. And that would, living by myself again, working at the bar. And I had a car at the time, so, I was able to do this stuff. And then I finally got in counseling. And I think this is where stuff really started to kind of come back. Because I was talking to the counselor, and she was like, how's life going? And I told her, I was like, I can afford this one session, so we got to get as much done as we can right now.
Oh, my gosh.
And she stopped and just stared at me for a second. I was like, are you about to hit on me? Or, what is about to happen? She's like, you remind me of my son, a lot. Like, oh, okay. Cool. What does that have to do with me? And she was like, I feel like I have to do this. You're going to pay for half of the price for one session a month, and we'll meet outside of this once a week. I was like, are you allowed to do that legally? And she's like, no, I'm not. But we'll do it because I feel like I have to. She was like, are you a Christian at all? And it was the first time it's back in my head. And I think, so my cousin throughout my life was kind of inviting me to church. And I was like, I'm not going to go to your cult because that's weird. But this was the first time that I was like, maybe I'm a Christian. And she went, good enough. And she opens the drawer, pulls out a Bible and sets it down.
Okay.
And I was like, oh. Is this Christian counseling? Did I read this website wrong? She was like, no, I just feel like this is what I got to do. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, keep going. I'm very intrigued.
So we got into just the depths of life of my mom leaving and kind of trying to figure that out. But it was really hard because it was that we got to meet in person once a month, and the rest were kind of phone calls. And
you sinful liars, you.
The buffalo chicken dip was probably the worst I've ever had. It was this artificial chicken and maybe green onions, maybe grass, was just kind of sprinkled in it. It was horrible. So I was like, I know there's something up, but I'm just not going to say it because I like talking to people. So they kept showing up, and they kept inviting me to places, and I just kept saying no. And they were like, that's okay. We're not going to push anything on you. And life takes a turn because I get a text from my dad, and he's like, dude, you need to go onto Facebook, and you need to check this out. I'm like, oh, okay, what am I looking at? And I open it, and my mom texted me. And it was, for the first time in 5 years, my mom reached out to all of us.
Really?
Yep.
So when you say she left.
She was gone. The last thing I said to her before this time was, you don't love me, and blocked her number. And that was it. And then she finally reached out again, and she was like, hey, I love you guys, and I miss you, and made a post and was like, these are my kids, and posted old photos of us.
Wow.
And the resentful child in me, still living in a 10-year-old of mine, had some words to say and was just straight to you did everything wrong, and accused her of all the bad stuff she did and brought up the bad stories. And she also dealt with alcohol, and it was really hard for her, so I brought that up to poke a jab at her and to kind of tell everybody in the family what I got to witness as a kid.
On the post, publicly. Okay.
Yep. And she brought up stuff about my dad, and I was like, yeah, he's told us. And we know that about him, but you lied, and you hid this, so we don't want to talk to you. So you can leave us alone. So within a week from splitting with my ex, my mom comes in contact, and we're like, okay, well, you need to get out of here and stop, talking to us. And this was I was mad for so long that I finally got to let it out to her. And a week later, my dad tells me, he's like, hey, your mom passed away. So within 3 weeks, my ex broke up with me, my mom came back, and then the week later, she passed away. And I was just like, everything is so distorted in every way. And I was like, what I thought of a parent is just gone. My dad is having a horrible time dealing with this. I'm lost. I don't have this girl that I thought I could go to all the time. So I was like, what do I do? I finally reached out to my cousin. I was like, can you just, like, sit down with me? I was like, can I just vent? She was like, yeah, I'll meet up with you. So we went to First Watch. Love the place.
It's full of the Holy Spirit. Let's just be honest.
As every Grace person goes to.
Yes.
Jesus lives in those pancakes. I could tell you. But we went there, and I spilled everything to her. I was like, everything is horrible. And I had a friend reach out to me, like, the night before, and he was like, I am thinking about killing myself. So I'm like, I feel like a horrible friend now, too, because I just can't be here for him when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But he's relying on me. I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
She's like, well, let me tell you about, this guy named Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay. But she gives me this whole new version instead of, either turn or burn. It was the, hey, you're loved. It was the first time within, like, a few months I've heard someone look at me and be like, you're loved. And it's the first time I felt a little pull, and I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this. She was like, so you should come to Collective. And I was like, I'm still not coming to Collective.
Yeah.
She was like, how about volleyball?
Oh,
So I finally show up, and I walk in for the first time. I am the most scared I've ever been, and I am not a nervous person. I'm not a shy person in the slightest.
Yeah, I can tell that.
And I walk in there, and I see I was really close with my cousin growing up, and I see one of her friends that I also sort of grew up with. And I was like, wow. So I know someone here. Sick. So I got to hang out with her all night. And I meet so many new people. And they were just so kind and accepting. And I was like, even when I talk about my problems, you're like, still going to talk to me? This is great. So I stick around with all those people just for a really long time. And I was really there for the social aspect. And I think it was a few weeks later, it was my mom's funeral. And the family reaches out. First time, 5 years. They finally reach out to us, and they're like, hey.
So that whole part of your family was...
Whole part of the family is gone. Like, did not talk to them at all. And we decided to go. I was so mad that I had to go. But they said it's easier to say you regret going to something than to regret not going.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess I'll go.
That's wisdom.
And this gospel was given to me, like, the weeks before, and I go to the funeral.
Gospel at volleyball?
At volleyball, yeah. So, the story of Jesus and love is given to me over and over, and I'm like, I don't know when, I don't fully understand this, but, we're going to do our best. And I was kind of getting the hang of it, kind of wanting to figure it out, and it was when I was standing above my mom's casket as they were lowering it down. I hate using this analogy because I think it's super childish, but it's funny. But, in Tom and Jerry, when he has, like, the angel cat and devil cat?
Yeah.
First time ever, I looked at my mom and realized you only had the devil cat. I was like, you never actually knew who Jesus was. And I realized the gospel that I have now. And I think in that moment, like, I was like, I understand what this is now, and you didn't have it. So I cannot be mad at you for anything you did, like, my whole life. And, like, the time you forgot me at school because you got too drunk. Or when I caught you texting that one guy and had to tell my dad, I was like, I just can't hold this against you because I just don't think you knew who Jesus was.
Yeah.
And it was this really nice feeling of, like, first time I felt forgiveness since I was 10.
Wow.
For, like, anyone. And
how old were you at that time?
18.
Wow.
So yeah, that I think that is what started with, like, this makes sense. And then I thought about my life, and I was like, wow, I've messed up in every way possible. I have hurt so many people, and you've given me the courage to forgive her because you've forgiven me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's grace.
Yeah. And then, so I went, after that, I was like, yeah, this is something I kind of want to stick with. And my cousin's boyfriend at the time, now husband, he's awesome, just took me under his wing, and he was like, everything that I know, I'm going to teach you. I'm just going to make sure this is something that you understand. And it was about when the time EMT school came back, and they were like, so, you got the money now? And I look at my bank account, and I got it, and I stopped for a sec, and I brought a few friends in a room, and I was like, guys, I'm having a dilemma. I'm just about to find out who God is. But I also have this career and, like, this whole life that I've planned everything around.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do?
And these, when you say guys, are these like wisdom team guys you've
With
met from
like full of wisdom through Collective.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the what we call leaders of Collective now. Like they oversee a lot of people.
These aren't like the bar friends.
Nope.
These are the
These are my friends have now shifted from the bar to the church, and it was nice. But I was like, guys, what do I do? And all of them were like, well, what do you thinking you do? And I was like, I think I need to figure out who God is. I was like, I think there's something telling me. So the 2 years of building up this life I wanted, I completely ditched just because I wanted to figure out who Jesus was, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
Okay.
That was the end of 22. So beginning of 2023, Collective goes on this retreat, and it was the same night I went on the retreat. I accepted and got baptized, and everything clicked. And I was like, this just, wow. And I was like, I've always hated an authority figure and always thought I could do stuff myself.
Yeah.
I've always
and
hated
differently than anyone else.
Yeah, I've always hated calling God a father. And I was like, parents suck. I was like, the ones you're supposed to love are not loving you. And then I think this was like, yeah, he's a father, and I can accept that with like every part of my heart now. And then just from then on, I just jumped full force, and I was like, this is just something I want to be around the rest of my life. So
now that's your new fire.
What'd you say?
That's your new fire.
That's my new
your
fire.
New flame. That's your new. You're chasing it. Just like you were in the actual fires, but it's a new, completely different variety.
I like to say I went from saving souls physically to saving souls spiritually, because while I was still figuring out life, I got to go to Momentum with a group, and they were like, hey, you can't be here, because we sort of broke in a little bit. And they were like, you can't be here. And we bumped into someone else. They were like, I'll talk to them. Security, just leave them alone right now.
Gotcha.
And we were talking, and we kind of just were like, yeah, we just want to show up. And they were like, how about this? We'll give you a day pass for like a specific amount. I think it was like $25. They're like, we'll give you a day pass as long as everyone can pay it and send it to us right now. We're good. I checked my bank account as everyone's freaking out, like, we just need to go home. We shouldn't be here. And it was exactly 25. I was like, okay. Yeah, you guys can go home. I'm going to stay. And they were like, no, we're all going to leave. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. I have this gut feeling I should be here. I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
And so I sent them to 25, and everybody else was like, fine, we'll all stay. So I get to experience the very last day on Momentum.
Yeah.
And Jeff was on stage, and he got to preach about being a pastor, and he was like, yeah, it kind of sucks. He was like, you'll lose a lot of people, you have a lot of pressure on you, and you're doing all these things that everyone hates, because you're doing everything for something outside of the world that they just don't understand. And it's like 20 minutes of just going on about it.
Yeah. Heavy.
It was heavy, and he finally, he does an altar call, and everybody comes up, and he's like, no, go back to your seats. You, like, sit down. He's like, too many people came up. You did not understand what I said. So he goes on for another 10 minutes, and he calls everybody up again, and I just, like, what felt like Bruce Lee just kicked me in the stomach as hard as possible. It was like this gut feeling. I turned to one of my friends. I was like, hypothetically, if someone was called to ministry, what does that look like? And he was like, well, I'd start with college and an internship. I was like, okay. So I went from striving for everything in life, being myself and the money and the awesome saving lives job that everybody respects, to now I'm in school to be a pastor.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so was that the summer of 2023, the Momentum thing? I was there. We were in the same room. That's so crazy.
I was in the back corner of the room, not allowed to be there, so we had to be secretive.
Gosh. And I remember that. I remember him saying, if you're going to come forward, the lights are going to be on. Don't even play music. I don't want anybody to think that they're being celebrated right now, because you will not be celebrated.
He said this is not a celebration for your life, because everyone's going to hate you if you do this.
Yeah, he made it as hard as possible for those kids to go forward.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah, and you walked the aisle, or you're like, I'm literally supposed to stay in this corner.
I had to stay in the corner.
Yeah.
I legally was supposed to, because I was not CAP approved, so I couldn't be around people. But I talked to my friends. I was like, this is something that I have to do. I was like, and they were like, you already said, right? And I was like, yeah. And I know nothing about the Bible too, but I have to.
Yeah. Yeah, he also talked about, he said the word you'll know when you're masterpiecing. Do you remember that word?
I don't think I
I
do.
wrote it down because I've never heard masterpiece used as a verb before, but I loved it. He was quoting scripture and talking about how we are God's masterpiece. And you know when you're masterpiecing, when you're doing that thing that burns your heart and soul with fire and you're like, this is it.
Yep.
There's a lot of gifts that everybody can do, but there's certain gifts that only some people can do. And that's how you are God's masterpiece. It's when you're masterpiecing. Like that was one of the things that stood out to me from that. So since you've made this choice, made this transition, walked to the front, even though you weren't allowed to walk to the front, but spiritually and in your heart you did, what happened next? How did you masterpiece going forward from there?
I continued just throwing myself into the ministry that I was in. So Collective, I was just kind of volunteering in every space possible. And we have this thing where it is like, if you know the gospel and you know who Jesus is, you're able to tell it. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I do that. So I just start telling all my friends. And I was doing that, and I was waiting on, like, when the internship opened up, and it was a long waiting game. It was big. A lot of it was like this want of like, am I making the right choice?
Yeah, you've given a little bit of space and time for the questioning and the doubting to creep in.
It all creeped in, and there was a lot like telling me that I need to go back. And even my dad was like, "You're making a bad decision." He was like,
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. How's family reacting to all of this, going to Collective and changing your life? And
my aunt and uncle are like, yeah, this is great. My dad, I think he secretly thought I was doing all the stuff that he did as a kid. So he's like always checking where I'm at, trying to figure out who I'm with. And I was like, Dad, I'm literally at a church.
Oh.
He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
But like, where are you at? Why's your location off? And I was like, Dad, my phone is just broken. I promise.
Right.
Because it was.
Yeah.
Like, I promise it is just broken. I'm literally at a church.
Yeah.
And I think it was, when we went on the retreat, when I got baptized, I think that's when it, like, fully, he was like, okay, he is, like, at a church and doing all these things. And when I think most people were kind of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And my dad was just like, you're not going to make any money. I was like, I don't think that's the point. And he was like, no, you need to have something else going on. He was like, why not Fire Academy anymore? Why didn't you go in for that? And I was like, I just don't think I'm supposed to. And I think it was him, and a lot of my friends were kind of like, you know, like the partier, the one who's said a lot of dumb stuff, who's broken into places, like, you're going to be a pastor? And I was like, yes. Is that a problem? They were like, we just never thought that.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple fellas in the New Testament that I think we could align you with there.
I'm not trying to put anything on a scale, but I don't think I'm as bad as some of the ones who murdered Christians. So I think we're doing good at the moment.
And that's what he said, though, right? Like, of all the people, it shouldn't be me, yet here I am.
And it does feel like that a lot sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I need a little help with the timeline here because I'm hearing Momentum of 23, Collective Retreat of that spring.
Yeah, so it was
Momentum
like,
was in the summer, Collective Retreat.
It was like May.
Was baptism and Collective Retreat. Yeah. Before that, how early did you start coming to volleyball? Was that still in 23?
It was,
or was it
it was
winter of
very end. I think it was the Christmas party, so it was very end of December.
Of 2022.
Yeah.
So it's like less than a year.
Yeah, it was December. The last week of December, I was at volleyball. May, I got baptized and accepted in... When was Momentum? It was like...
July.
It was July. And then July, it was like, oh, ministry, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. And that's a drive. That was far away.
Yeah.
If you guys to go there with no plan.
It was actually day of.
Little crazy.
It was day of when we went. It was in the morning. I got a text, and he was like, hey, you want to go on this 4-hour road trip? And I was like, to where? And he said, to Momentum. And I was like, what is that? And he explained it. I was like, okay.
For high school kids.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, college campus, high school kids. I was like, you had me at the college part.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. And my husband was on the safety team there, so perhaps you had an encounter with him. He might have been the one that stopped us. Hopefully he was the one that helped you get through, but who knows? Wow. Okay, so my mind is just really blown right now because God can work. He can use blueberry donuts.
He used the blueberry donuts.
And he can use volleyball.
Yeah.
And he can use cousins over years.
Yeah.
And years.
I think what got me, which realized how much God can work, was I got to sit in on the sermon meetings now since I've been around and since I'm like an intern. And one of the times he had like a name at the top of the paper. And I was like, who is this? And he's like, sometimes when you write sermons, you want to write to a specific person. that reaches that demographic. I was like, oh, cool. And I stopped for a second. I was thinking about it, and I was like, was I up there? He was like, yeah. He was like, I think the first, before the month you came around, so it was, it was like November-ish, he was like, I started putting your name up there. And he was like, and it was December when you finally came. And I continued to put your name up there until you accepted. He was like, your cousin for years has been praying for you.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I did not realize that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't take this. It's like my heart is so much. Okay, so how do we be like your cousin? You're trying to now be like your cousin. I hear you talking about sharing the gospel. Like you know it, then you can share it. It's not you know it, you took a quiz, you did a Bible study written by somebody else, and then you got the degree, and then you can share it. It's you know it, and you can share it. Tell me more about what that looks like in practicality.
I think it's understanding how important the gospel is. Because everyone says they know it, but I think when you actually know it, you get to look at it and say, if I truly believe what the gospel says, I truly believe that this is the one and only way to God, how selfish am I to keep that to myself?
Yeah.
So it's like this want to just like, no, when I talk to someone, I'm like, you need to know this, or your life is going to be horrible. Or you think your life is great now, but eventually you don't have anything. So I think there's that feeling behind it, but it's also, I think just understanding how much you're loved.
Yeah.
And understanding that God loves us so much, we just need to love the ones around us. And sometimes that is just giving the gospel. Sometimes it's just being there, claiming to eat buffalo chicken dip, and just checking how someone's doing for months on end.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that turns into ministries. Like there's a place in Akron called Rock Mill.
Yeah.
Me and a few buddies have a ministry there now. We get to reach people there and talk all the time about the gospel as we're climbing on the walls. And sometimes it's just meeting with a friend once a week just to see how they're doing.
Well, that's just a well, you talked about seeds back with that Bible study and the blueberry donuts, and then all these seeds that your cousins planted through buffalo chicken dip, and now your own seeds that you're planting at Rock Mill, and everywhere that you dine, I'm sure, everywhere that you basically in public, like that's really cool because you're doing unto others what they did for you, and what brought you to this place of peace. I'm guessing like maybe even we could tie some of that up, like in your heart, in your being, in your body, thinking of that counselor that you like needed for so long. Like I bet has there been healing there?
Yeah.
And freedom?
Yeah, I think the resentful child in my heart is not there anymore. There's been a lot of healing with letting go of the past, and not in the cliche way of like just let it go and you'll get over it. It's the
forgive and forget.
Yeah, but it's the I've been forgiven so I can forget. But I don't have to, because that's such a huge part of my story. And actually I went from hating everything about life to loving everything, because how bad everything was lets me reach people. And I think that's one of the biggest things, where God has healed me of love, of just, I think, just maturity, but also healed me of like just understanding of like, because there's a lot of things that might happen, and I think there's so much more that I could go on about, and it's like everything really seems like you shouldn't want to talk with people, but now I get to use that, and I think God has definitely healed the understanding of like why that had to happen, to why now I can reach so many people. Like the people who don't have a mom I get to talk to, the people who struggle to have a relationship with their dad, I also get to talk to. The ones who didn't live at home for a while, I get to talk to them too. So it's like, and then with the counselor, it's, I think she helped me understand how the little impacts also do a lot. Because I was kind of frustrated she put the Bible on the table, but I think it was just that little action. I was like, okay, this helped.
Changed the trajectory, I would say, of that opportunity. You had one session and you had this one conversation, but she asked one question, and then got out one book, and then looked at you through new eyes, like her son, and you looked at her better or worse with the Bible in front of you. And like, I think question mark, yes, Christian, if I would check that box, you know, that kind of like, but it just shifted it.
She healed the view I had on Christians.
Yeah.
I thought it was all of God's people suck.
Yeah.
They're all horrible because of what they did in the past. And then she really healed that. And then a friend told me before, he said, humans never fail to fail. And I realized that I was like, oh. So the view that I have of this new counselor versus the past was like, they're so different. And they just never fail to fail. I was like, they just messed up in the past, and that's their fault for being human. But that's why we have God. Yeah. And she helped me heal the view of like, there are good people in the world. Sometimes we just mess up.
Amen. Amen. That's what we like to say here at Grace is, we're a bunch of messed up people who have been saved by Christ. Yeah. And we want to find other messed up people to help save them with Christ. Yeah. Not our own efforts or anything like that. Okay, so I want to hear about what your vision now is for your ministry and what you see for yourself there.
Vision for me can be a little cloudy, but I think there's this feeling of wanting to teach. Okay. So I actually just started a Bible study with one of my friends, and we're going over just how to follow Christ. So my current ministry, I feel like, is teaching right now, going and working with my friends, not above them, but just with them, of like, hey, I'm like literally in school, so I can teach you some things and just kind of give what I've learned. But I don't know, there's this feeling of my vision for the future, I think, just leading a group, like pastor, like on the stage pastor, which is super scary, and I hate it, but I think that's the future vision.
Yeah, sometimes I get stage fright as well, but I also really love and feel gifted at public speaking, which so many people are afraid of. Like, God, why'd you make me so scared of it? If it's also something I'm really good at and can you be used for your glory? Can you just take the butterflies away, please?
I am super confident and outgoing in front of small groups, and you put me on a stage, and I go, and I start stuttering, but it's crazy how he still works through that, though. Yeah. Because I think it's we just have to put that much more trust in him. Of like, I am nervous, but you've made me, and you somehow work through these words. So I guess I'm going to trust you.
Yeah, and as we let him become greater and us less, there's some magic in that formula, right? Yeah. If we're humble, then he can actually do all of his full glory there. And I also love, this is thrown back to Josh Schneider's interview years ago that we did his conversation, and he talked about how someone on stage, he's a musician, and he wanted to be in the band, but he was too nervous about being perfect. And he said somebody hit a wrong note one weekend, and that helped him believe that he could be good enough to be on stage, to use the gift that God gave him to play guitar in the worship band. So even sometimes striking a wrong chord, stuttering, whatever that fault or flaw that we might think can actually be used for somebody else to be elevated, or not themselves elevated, but like step into a space that they were called into. Yeah,
I think it also really points to just how great God is. It's like he is using these people who mess up all the time to preach the gospel, or like someone stutters on stage or something goes wrong. Everyone's like, I don't have to look at it as, wow, that person like really messed up. It's like, and God still uses them. Yeah.
Oh, whoa, that person's more like me. That's great.
Yeah, it's like, wow, they're on the exact same level as me. They're just human. There's no more special things about them except that they have God.
Sounds like a fellow named Moses that I know a little bit about. Like, I don't talk well. How can I do this, God? And God's like, I can do anything.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that the story of Moses was told to me when I was like, I don't know if I should go into teaching, and I was getting scared about the speaking. They were like, there's a guy who like led Israelites through this like whole sea, and he couldn't talk well.
He also couldn't split the sea. Yeah, he didn't have to. That's God's job, not his. So
that's one of my favorite stories. I love it so much.
Man, so good. Okay, so you want to teach, and sounds like, you're really studying, which comes along with teaching, which is one of the coolest parts, is because you learn so much more when you're preparing to teach, which is amazing. All right, and anything else? Like, what else do you get into, and what else, I'm guessing school and ministry and internships and reaching your friends and community is plenty to take up your time.
Yeah, that's just kind of my life.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just doing that a lot. I try my best to go on mission trips. I don't know if it's a calling to go to missions for work, but it's definitely a calling of like, this is just something God has made me physically well enough to be able to go to mission trips and just work. Mm-hmm. So I love doing that. Yeah. So I plan on doing that, going to Mazatlan in May.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, maybe there's some skills back from, not very fire specific, but just some general like safety stuff that you did through that training that can be redeemed as well and brought into your current
Well, it's
day.
also just the strength that I've gained from it. Mm-hmm. I think it packed on. I went from a scrawny little boy to the beautiful beefcake I am now.
Well, I will not speak to that, but I'll let the audience use their imaginations and come to Collective to find out. So.
Yeah, sometimes I'm on stage giving announcements.
Awesome. Okay, now we're in a kind of segue here, but how did the band play into your entry points into Collective? Was that a cool point for you, or what on earth is there a drum set doing on stage?
At first, I was super confused, and I was like, I don't really like this because everyone's standing up and kind of raising their hands in the air. But I think that is the biggest way I connect with God now. Mm-hmm. Just the songs. I've always loved music, and I think that just kind of it put my heart in the right place.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a very big person. I don't listen just to the music, but I will reread the lyrics in my head and what did that mean, type of thing. And so I think that really put a big impact. And I got to help with the pro presenter to go through the slides, and they played a big impact because they showed I got to see how many people they're affecting with just the small song that they're doing, and hundreds of people are raising their hands and dancing, and I'm like, this is just because you're striking a few chords. This is sick. And I think that also helped me understand. It was the little things matter. And I was this little thing that I overlooked like crazy is huge. And now I wake up every morning and go to bed every night listening to my Jesus Jams playlist.
Jesus Jams. Is it your own personal curated list?
It's a mix of other people's playlists. Okay. I just stink at making them, and I don't want to take the time. So I'm like, can you send me it? And I just combine them. I'm like, yeah.
Well, you can add to your Jesus Jams, you can add the unscripted worship playlist, which is on Spotify. And so each person we asked to contribute a song to it. And tell us why. What does it mean to you? What is it, a lyrics thing? Was it a special moment for you, the song that helped your heart or whatever? Did you come with a song to add to our unscripted playlist?
Yeah, this might be a super cliche answer, but the song Oceans.
Oh, that has not been added yet.
Really?
I know, right?
Wow. I love it because of how much anxiety it gives me. But it's good anxiety.
Okay.
I thought it was this beautiful, slow song that I get to raise my hands to until my pastor pointed out that the main chorus is a prayer.
Okay, say more.
And it was Spirit, lead me deeper than my feet could ever wander. And it was about walking out into this water that's I know I cannot go far. And what it felt like when I realized that was I've walked through water my whole life and I've been drowning my whole life. And now when I sing it, it's not just spiritual karaoke, but it's this prayer to God of I've went through water my whole life by myself, and now I'm going to do whatever I can to ask you to just take me as far as possible. I think it's just I know I can't do it, and I know I don't want to, but the song makes me remember that I have to.
In the presence of my Savior.
Yes.
That's the only way we can do it. When we have our eyes locked on him. Because what did Peter do? He took his eyes off. He got out of the boat, and Jesus called him, come to me. And he took his eyes off of him, and he started to fall.
But his hand was still there.
Yeah.
And that's the best part. And this song just gives me a beautiful mental image of I am walking out, and it's getting super deep, but he's there the whole time. And I don't want to pray that at all. And I hate it, and it gives me anxiety, and it scares me.
I get it now.
Scares me to say the words out loud, but I still do it because I want him to.
Dangerous prayers, right?
Dangerous prayers.
Yes.
But they're good prayers.
Yes, they are. They are. Whew, good ad. Do you have a particular version? Have you listened to there's so many versions of that song now.
I think I found one on
your
Spotify. It
OG.
was just Hillsong
Yeah.
Worship. I think
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, that's a good ad. A good ad. So friends, if you have not yet done so, look up. It's called Unscripted Worship on Spotify. And it's just a whole mix of all the different songs that everybody contributes. And so it's a good help for something like that. That's why we started it. Like, gosh, it's such an important part of our experience here at Grace. And each person seems to have their own unique experience with it. So how can we help people have the best worship playlist? So it's growing and I love it. Well, that's wonderful. Okay. Any final words, final thoughts from you that you want our audience to remember when they remember Bryce's story?
That God can just work through anything.
Yeah.
I think it seems like a lot has happened. It seems like life may be really hard, but he works through it. You just got to trust it.
That's true. Donuts, buffalo dip, volleyball. He can use anything.
And breaking into momentum.
Very, very. Well, it started with breaking into, what was it, a golf club?
Golf courses.
Golf course at the beginning to breaking into momentum. So, hey, you were well skilled at it, and you knew what you needed when you needed it, and you ran for it. I love it. Awesome. Well, Bryce, thanks for sharing your story with us. Oh, and also, listeners, Bryce has agreed if anybody resonates with any piece of your story, which you said, like, these are your masterpiecing moments, right? You are masterpiecing because you're uniquely designed to talk to somebody about parent struggles, about childhood pains and wounds and relationship losses and things like that. Like, if anybody's hearing that and thinking, I felt that way, or I know somebody, gosh, my cousin would really value hearing his story or talking with him. This is literally what he's gonna be doing for work. So
I would love to reach out to people.
Absolutely.
Or have people reach out to me.
Yeah. So you can reach out to us at unscripted@graceohio.org, and we can get you connected to Bryce or anybody else here at Grace. If you want to do some talking with us, please reach out. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.